Welcome to Frank and Upfront. I am your host, Mr. Franklin. A very special welcome to all of you who are joining me here on this podcast. I invite you to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell to be notified of weekly uploads. Today's topic: why hiring an escort is a boss move. Now, in continuing from last week's podcast, there is no such thing as an incel. There's something I forgot to mention. Now, and just briefly to recap, there are two kinds of so-called incels who are out there. The kind who believes themselves to be incels, for which they are not. And the kinds who are not incels but who believe themselves to be incels, not by any internal thought process, but because the people in their circles have somehow managed to gaslight them into believing that they're incels. And as far as number two is concerned, the people who have been gaslighted, the people whose social lives and love lives have been sabotaged, I failed to mention how to know if you're dealing with people trying to convince you that you're no good, that you're that you're unlovable. You know, there's the saying, before you commit suicide and before you check yourself into a mental hospital, before you self-diagnose as having mental disease, first check your circles to make sure that you're not just in fact surrounded by assholes. That saying is quite true. But here's how you know the difference between one who let me just put it this way for you. How to know if you're dealing with somebody who is trying to make you into an incel, for which you are not. Now, let me give you two examples here. Example A, say you see this girl, you like her, right? You ask her for her number, you ask her out, and she rejects you. And then you take that rejection in stride, and you meet somebody else, and you ask her out, and she says yes. Girl number one who rejected you, she might feel some type of way about it, but she will wish you well. You know? She, especially if she subsequently realizes, as they so often do, that you were probably a great catch after all, she's gonna feel some type of way. You know, it's only human nature, you know? But she's not particularly malicious about it. Whereas in example B, however, that same girl would try to wreck your life, sabotage your life, turn people against you, start a smear campaign against you, make you seem like the worst guy ever, get other people to join her in her quest to ruin your life simply because you dare find somebody else after she rejected you. You see, that's how you know you're dealing with a narcissist. That is a narcissist right there who would do that. How dare you find somebody else after she rejected you? Her word was final. You know? She doesn't want you, and she doesn't want anybody else wanting you either. And the moment someone else shows interest in you, not only is she proven wrong and looking like an idiot for rejecting you in the first place, but also she's proven imperfect because her judgment is not absolute as she thought it would have been. And you're proving her wrong, and you're making her look like a fool. So now she's out to get you. That's a narcissist right there. That's a very messed up person right there who does that. A healthy person would be like, oh well, you know, you can't have them all. It was my fault, I rejected him. That's a healthy girl. A healthy-minded female who does that. The toxic female will go after you for daring to find happiness after she done told you that you're not lovable or not worthy of being loved by anyone. Or did you really think that she was just rejecting you for herself only? You see what I mean? And the best example of that are the people who are against the SYSBM movement. People who are against the Passport Gang and the Traveling Brothers. People like Cynthia G, for example, and like Sophia from the Dominican TV language YouTube channel. These are the type of females who, despite them not particularly having interest in a man, they can't just let him be and leave him up to his own devices. They have to go out of their way to put their mouth on whatever he's doing, badmouth him, smear his name. And by the way, these examples are on YouTube, but you do have real world women who these YouTube characters would reflect the women in the real world who do behave like that. They're just in the public eye as an example as to what's out there. There wouldn't be so much SYSBM counter arguments if they were truly happy for you finding love and happiness wherever it is in the world where you can find it. They know they failed you. Otherwise you wouldn't be leaving. They just don't want you exploring your options. You see what I mean? That is the really and truly how you know someone is trying to incelize you. Are they against you exploring your options outside of them? That is the bottom line. To know the difference between whether or not someone is trying to incelize you. Are they trying to limit you exploring your options outside of what they have to offer? Do they want you solely at their mercy? You know what I mean? Now, for the brothers out there who you can't immediately travel or make a move, or you're not ready for a serious traditional relationship yet, but you still need to have your sexual needs met. There are things you can do to have your sexual needs met, as you so deserve to have them met, while you work on whatever it is that you need to do. To get to a place where you can then maybe travel or seek a traditional relationship partner. Which brings me to today's main topic. Why hiring an escort is a boss move. First of all, let me start off by saying every man deserves to have his sexual needs met. Every man is entitled to have his sexual needs met, but no one is entitled to force someone else to be responsible for you having your needs met. And no one is entitled to kind of harass or to force or to okay, let me rephrase that one for me. It's not coming out the right way. No one is entitled to force any one woman in particular to meet his sexual needs. You see my point? So basically what I'm saying is, okay, here's what I'm really trying to say. Men are entitled to women's bodies in general, but no man is entitled to any one woman's body in particular. I reiterate. Every man is entitled to women's bodies in general, but no man is entitled to any one woman's body in particular. So what does that mean, basically? It simply means explore your options. One woman says no, move on to the next. She also says no, keep it moving. Someone is bound to say yes. And if you're kind of a novice at this and you're not getting your yes fast enough, then there's some woman out there who it is her job to say yes. It is her job to allow you to use her as a sex object, so long as you pay her. We have many names for these women in our society. After all, it is the world's oldest profession. Of course, there'll be lots of nicknames for it. Or for the women themselves. We call them ladies of the night, or harlots, or hookers, or escorts, or courtesans, or prostitutes, street walkers, street meat, you name it. You call them what you will. But her job is to say yes where others have said no, and to allow you, the paying customer, to use her body as a sex object for your personal and selfish sexual gratification. After all, you do deserve to have your sexual needs met, and you may not be entitled to any one woman's body in particular, but you're definitely entitled to women's bodies in general. So if you're not getting a yes answer fast enough, that's where she comes in. That's her job. And as long as these women exist on the earth, there is no such thing as an incel. Now, there might be such a thing as a volcel, somebody who volunteers to be celibate because they consider that prostitutes are beneath them and they're only pursuing high quality women. The best example of a person who's like that is the person I covered in last week's podcast. The person who society mistakenly refers to as an incel, even though I keep telling you he and others like him are not incels. They're volcels. Elliot Rodger was a volcel. He could have went down to Figueroa. It's only about 2 hours away from Santa Barbara. But he chose instead to be miserable and die a virgin. These women are the incel's best friend. So therefore, as long as she exists, there shouldn't be any such thing as an incel. If in fact you're celibate, you're not an incel per se. You're a volcel. You choose to be celibate. You could humble your damn self and come down to earth, you know. But you choose instead to maintain your standards, which I respect someone who can do that. But then don't blame society and shoot up no cottage campus or no shoot up no sorority house because you feel entitled to one woman's body in particular. Don't be shooting up no sorority house blaming society because you feel entitled to one woman's body in particular, when in fact you should be feeling entitled to women's bodies in general. Now, people may be wondering, but Mr. Franklin, what kind of advice are you giving to the young people then? Well, and then there are other concerns as well. People have concerns about morality and spirituality for one's involvement with a prostitute, and people have concerns about STDs and so forth. I have a system to answer all of those questions. I have a rating system for the 3 main classifications of prostitutes, and I also have a system, or for that matter, I have a solution for your concerns about morality and spirituality. As a matter of fact, I do believe that there are 3 conditions under which the universe, or whatever kind of higher power you believe in, whatever deity you believe in, there are 3 conditions under which one can be forgiven for their involvement with a prostitute. There are three types of men who uses the services of an escort for which I believe that they could be forgiven. First of all, let me just say, if you're using an escort service, you're not hurting anybody unless you're married. And for that matter, married men are not supposed to be enlisting the services of a prostitute. But then again, that is probably not going to change, because that's where the prostitute makes the majority of her money. Married men are more likely than the single man to be wealthier and more powerful. So for that reason, he has more money, he pays her more, so that will never end. But if he wants to put his marriage at risk, then that's on him. I truly don't believe, however, that married men should be using the services of an escort when you consider that the escort is the friend of the incel and the single man, the bachelor. The bachelor and the incel's best friend is the prostitute. That's why she's there. The married man is being greedy, wanting to sample some fresh meat when he does that. And he's willing to put his marriage at risk to show you how little he thinks about his wife. Willing to put her at risk of catching an STD, willing to put his marriage at risk to hurt his wife and break her heart, just so he could sample some fresh meat. The best example that comes to mind is the former New York State Governor, Eliot Spitzer. As long as you are not cheating on your wife with a prostitute, you're not hurting anybody. As long as you keep your business discreet and you're not really out there in people's faces, you're not hurting anybody. After all, it's still a highly tabooed subject, and society is not ready just about yet to face the and they're not liberal enough in their thinking to consider why dating alternatively is a boss move. So because of that, we're not trying to offend people. We're kind of in our own league, doing our own thing. So we are being discreet. So if you happen to catch us doing what we do, then you're being nosy, and you're the one going out of your way to be nosy, because we are not even trying to offend anybody. And if you're hurt by what we choose to do with our free time and our money or whatever, then you need to mind your business, because this isn't even about you. Right? You wouldn't be hurt if you were minding your business. So you're going out of your way to be nosy, and when you see what you don't like what the Karens of the world would do, that's what the Karens are all about. That's what they do. When you see what you don't like, you claim to get offended, and you want us to go out of our way to appease you so you're no longer offended, when all you have to do is mind your business. No, that's not what I'm talking about. When I say that we're not hurting people, that's not who I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Karen. I'm not talking about Cynthia or the likes of them, for example. I am talking about offending people or embarrassing people who are actually close to you. Like, for example, if you're married. That's what I'm talking about. Cheating on your wife, embarrassing her publicly. You know, so as long as you're not married, actually married to somebody, and you're a free agent, you're not hurting anybody with your lifestyle choices. So anyway, as I was saying earlier, just a while ago, there are 3 particular types of male clients of an escort whose conditions are justified for them doing what they do, and I do believe that the universe will forgive them. Number 1, the busy professional. The busy professional, this man may be a trucker, he's never at home, he's always on the road, maybe some other kind of courier, may just be someone building a business. Right? Now, this busy professional, he does not have time to date traditionally. He's too busy doing what he does, but he still has sexual needs and sexual urges regardless. And whenever the need arises, he calls over an escort to, how should I say, service him. He will be forgiven most likely for his involvement with the escort. He's not hurting anybody. He has no wife to be heartbroken or humiliated by his actions. And he's being discreet, so he's not offending society in general. Which means that any offending parties should probably just be minding their business. That's the busy professional. Does not have time to date traditionally. That's number 1. Number 2, the divorced father. He has already been there and done that. Already tried the love thing, didn't quite work out. Now he's divorced. And he decided to dedicate the rest of his life to being a supportive, loving father and grandfather and uncle to his children and nieces and nephews and grandchildren. But when the need arises, he calls over an escort and she, how do you say, services him? Anyhow. And then number 3. I saved number 3 for last deliberately. The most crucial person, male client of an escort to be forgiven is he who society have attempted to make into an incel. Perhaps this man was just in a propaganda bubble for which he was surrounded by assholes who have gaslighted him into believing himself to be an incel, for which he is not. And they're so relentless and so adamant on destroying his life that they keep pushing their agenda. The only way to get rid of these people is to go complete no contact like a boss. A video for another day. A topic worthy of having a video of its own. Coming soon. Going no contact like a boss. But in the meantime, you're still in the surroundings of these people, you're still in their circles, and they're still sabotaging your love life, scaring away all your friends and girlfriends and all these things, and turn around and blame you for it, and they're the ones doing it. absolutely hate with a capital H, you having any option outside of their mercy. You're supposed to be at their mercy. And when you explore options outside of their mercy, you're taking away the power for them to choose and decide their fate. If it were up to them alone, your name might have been Steve Carell because you would have been a damn 40-year-old virgin. You can't have people like that. You can't leave your sexuality or the experience of your sexuality up to the mercy of people who are like that. But then if these people were to find out that you are seeing an escort behind their back, they will be the first ones to shame you and say, you're committing a sin. It's an abomination. You're going straight to hell. Well, let me tell you something. There is a difference between sin and evil. What these people are doing to you is evil. They are evil, wicked people. You might be a sinner, but you ain't wicked like them because you do not sit down. I almost guarantee you, if you're under the sound of my voice right now, I could almost guarantee you that you do not sit down and plot and scheme and premeditate ways in which to enter people's lives, kind of pry your way into people's lives, manipulate people, ruin their lives, and leave their lives entirely at your mercy. You don't do that. And if you're not premeditatively sitting there like a fucking psychopath and thinking of little Machiavellian ways to get people to be under your control, I promise you, you're not wicked like them. They're wicked. So for them to sit there and chastise you over your lifestyle choices, they're hypocrites. They are hypocrites. You might be a sinner, sir, but you are not wicked and evil like them. Because at this very moment, they're plotting their next move against you and whoever their other intended targets are. You're not doing that. You're just living your life on your own terms, and you're not hurting anybody. You're doing what you do. You're minding your business. They're the ones trying to control people's lives, not you. You might be a sinner, but they're wicked. So, in the scenario where both you and your oppressor should die on the same day and be judged on the same day, I could almost guarantee you that you, sir, will make it into the kingdom of the Most High much more quickly than they ever will. Because the Creator is more likely, and I can't guarantee because I can't speak for the Creator, but based on my understanding of spirituality, the Creator is more likely and more willing to forgive sin than to forgive wickedness. You might be a sinner, but you're not wicked like them. They're wicked. And I can't say that quite often enough. What they're doing to you is wicked. They might be the reason why you are not dating traditionally in the first place. If they decide to try and make you into an incel for which you are not one, and you decide that you're not having it, and you go out looking for a prostitute, putting yourself at the risk of getting nabbed in the middle of a sting operation, getting beat up by some violent pimp, getting catching an SED, you're putting yourself through all that risk because of what they did to your life when you were probably meant to just have a regular normal life and date traditionally. And you are now in a situation for which you are in more danger, you are at more risk because of what they did. You might be a sinner, sir, but you're not wicked like them. And when push comes to shove, the Creator is more likely to forgive you for your sins much faster than He would forgive them for their wickedness. So if you have to do what you have to do, then do what you have to do. And maybe pray for forgiveness afterwards. The Most High sees everything that's going on this earth. The Most High sees everything that's been going on in your life that led you on this path. The Most High is not asleep, and God don't like ugly. So because the Most High understands your reason for going down this path of not dating traditionally to have your sexual needs met, He will forgive you much faster and more readily than He would your wicked satanic oppressors who set you on this path, even to begin with, to put you through all this danger of getting caught up in a sting operation, catching an STD, maybe getting set up to get robbed by some violent pimp or whatever. All the dangers associated with using the services of a hooker that does not come with dating traditionally. You likely wouldn't have experienced, probably wouldn't experience those things if in fact you would have dated traditionally. So they're actually endangering your life. It's just that you're willing to take the risk because you're not having any of their what they rule that your life should be. You're not having that. So you're willing to take the risk, and that is most admirable. Even though there are smart ways and there are things you could do. You know? There are smart ways to do what you do, and there are things you could do to avoid the risks or to reduce the risks. But even so, you're less likely to encounter the risks had you dated traditionally, but you were willing to take on the risks, including the risk to your very soul and your own salvation, just to resist what they, your oppressors, rule that your life should be, because you're not having any of it, and that is most admirable. And the Creator Himself is looking down on you with admiration, and your situation will improve, it will change. That's why I'm telling you, He is more likely to forgive you who was forced into a sinful situation than He will forgive the wicked oppressors who force you there even to begin with. All right, so the man who was made into an incel, all three of the men I mentioned, the busy professional, the divorced father, and the incel for the incel for which he's not one, all of them are likely to be forgiven because of their circumstances. But above all else, because of the incel circumstances, the incel above all else is likely is the likeliest to be forgiven because of his circumstances. That doesn't mean, however, that you should sit there and be complacent. This situation is temporary. You should be thinking of a plan to get to a place where you can start building up your confidence and your self-esteem, that you could start meeting people and kind of get to a place where you could comfortably date traditionally. Right? Even though you be forgiven, it's not for you to be complacent. Do what you have to do for now, but do it with the intent of kind of branching off into getting to a place where you can probably maybe date traditionally. You know? Anyway, and now to my next point. Speaking of the means by which one can reduce the risk of dating along these lines, dating professionally, this is the perfect point in which to segue into the three main classifications of sex workers. Now, you know that with restaurants, the different classifications of restaurants, right? If you're going to use the rating system, the 5-star thing, the 3-star thing, whatever, as far as restaurants are concerned, the 1-star restaurant rating goes to your taco truck, your hot dog stand, your McDonald's and Jack in the Box and all those guys, right? And your 3-star sports bar goes to your Applebee's, your TGI, and all those things. But your 5-star experience, is a fine dining experience. It's a black tie event, tuxedos, evening gowns, champagne drinking. You probably don't know the name of any of those fine dining restaurants because they're not commercial restaurants. They don't have one in every town. It's a mom and pop's thing. It's most likely a French restaurant or a Russian restaurant or some other kind of European restaurant. You almost never hear of them. They're very expensive. It's probably $30 a plate and maybe $20 for one single glass of champagne. And you're not going to walk out of there unless you spend maybe $300 for one night, right? So you have your 1-star hot dog stand, your 3-star sports bar, and your 5-star fine dining experience. Now, same as with the hotels. With the hotels, you have your 1-star motel, your 3-star inn. The 3-star inns would be like your Best Western Inn, your Holiday Inn, your Days Inn, and all these things. Then you have the 5-star resorts like the Marriott and the Hilton and Sandals Beach Resorts, right? So you have your 1-star motel, your 3-star inns, your 5-star resorts. Well, with sex workers now, you have your 1-star streetwalkers, your 3-star brothel hookers, back page thoughts and your massage parlor thoughts as well. And then you have your 5-star escorts. Your 5-star, let me be more specific, your 5-star GFE escort, right? Now with the 1-star streetwalker, she's probably on drugs, probably got scars from all the fights she were involved with, from getting stabbed and getting cut and stabbing people and cutting people and getting in a fight over turf and getting beat up by her pimp. She probably have STDs or had several of them and probably still have some lingering. But guess what though? You pull up in the back of some alley somewhere behind a dumpster and she'll give you a $50 blowjob. So the benefit is that she's cheap, but she is just nasty. And when I say drugs, I'm not talking about no marijuana. I'm talking about crystal meth and heroin. She probably strung out on drugs, getting beat up by her pimp, has a violent pimp, probably getting gangbanged by 10 different guys a night. Some probably didn't even pay her. Wake up so completely out of it next to some guy she probably doesn't even recognize. That is your 1-star streetwalker, right? Then you have your 3-star massage girls, the AMPs, the back page thoughts when back page was sort of thing, and the Insta thoughts, the OnlyFans thoughts. And the brothel girls, those are 3 stars. They're not nearly as bad as the streetwalkers. They might try a little marijuana here and there, but they're not particularly strung out on drugs, even though some have drug problems, but it's less likely in those circles. The number one benefit to dealing with the 3-star hooker is that you can get a reasonably clean service without breaking the bank. But the downside with these girls is that they have bad attitudes. They want to rush you in and out, and don't really respect your needs as a client. And they make it very clear to you, you're there for them, they're not there for you. So they want to rush you through the encounter and have you in and out before you even get to really enjoy yourself. They're very cold and disconnected, and there's no sense of care there. So yes, they're cheaper, but then you're not getting the fulfillment you need. And some guys don't mind, you know. Some guys are simple guys. They see tits and ass and baby sauce comes out. Their words, not mine. Yeah, some guys don't really need much stimulation. All they see is tits and ass and baby sauce comes out. But for other guys, however, they need more attention and more care, and these girls are not good for them. What they need is not sex. Obviously, they have sex and they're not really even enjoying it, to be honest. What they want is intimacy. And the 1-star streetwalker and the 3-star hooker is not going to provide the kind of intimacy that they crave, nor are they willing to build rapport. That kind of intimacy and that kind of connection that these clients seek, it takes time to build rapport and have that kind of connection. You have girls who, working girls who particularly specify, or well, not really specify, who specialize in providing intimacy as a service. They call them GFE escorts. GFE stands for girlfriend experience. Clients craving intimacy should probably go in for a girlfriend experience. And you do have escorts in particular who specialize in offering GFE as a service. Those are your 5-star escorts. Those are who you would call your elite courtesans, as they would so call themselves in the ads. Those are your girls. They have a nice clean in-car location. They're very professional. Some are educated, some have college degrees. They have very polite bedside manners, very polite phone etiquette. They probably have a booker booking the appointment for them. They probably have their own website with very, very well put together, professionally done photos. If they have tattoos, the tattoos are probably tastefully done. So it's not trashy, it's just very tasteful, artistic kind of tattoo work. You know, probably don't have any piercings really. Maybe only a few very tasteful tattoos and nothing else in there. And they're very clean. The in-car is clean. They get tested regularly. Speaking of getting tested regularly, they have a very small clientele. And because they have a low volume of clients, they can afford to offer more bareback services, but they do get tested regularly. So even though they offer bareback services, because their circles are small and because they get tested regularly, it is less likely for them to come up positive in an STD test. So whether or not you want to take a chance is at your discretion, but unlike with the last two girls, the 1-star streetwalker, the 3-star hooker, with this girl, it's actually offensive if you wish to use a condom with her. She feels like you're scorning her, and she might just end the encounter just by you offending and scorning and insulting her with a condom. So yeah, once again, it is at your discretion whether you want to go ahead with that one. Drug use. Well, they tend to maybe drink a little red wine. They're very classy. Very classy. She's exactly who you're looking for in a wife or a girlfriend. So she's very classy. Probably drink a little bit of red wine, maybe a little marijuana, but nothing too trashy that's gonna... Nothing... She don't fuck with the hard stuff. Nothing like no crystal meth or heroin or cocaine or nothing like that. Maybe a little marijuana here and there and a little red wine, and that's about it. The downside with the 5-star GFE escort is that she's a little bit pricier. Here in the United States, she would probably run for $500 an hour, and in some cases, even $1,000 an hour. She's also more likely to offer multi-hour specials like 3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, overnight specials, sleepovers, weekend specials for like $3,500. and she's more likely as well to offer dinner dates with her client. Dinner dates combined with like an overnight sleepover kind of special, for which one might pay like $2,000 for the whole night. She is extremely pricey, and her clientele often involves businessmen, diplomats, politicians, ambassadors. Those are artists, musicians. Those are her clientele. Now, the race of your 5-star elite courtesan, your GFE escort, she could be any race, to be honest, but she's more likely to be a white or an Asian woman. And she will see black male clients, but particularly those who are artists or musicians or of a more artistic or wealthier persuasion. It's sad to say, but the 1-star streetwalker is more likely to be black. It is what it is. I don't like it. It makes me upset to think about it, but yeah, she's more likely to be black. But what we do here on this program is we call shit out as we see it. And if you're tired of being the worst of the worst, and there are things that we can maybe do to improve our situation so we could kind of move up in the world and not be seen as the worst of the worst and the bottom of the barrel and the bottom feeder and people lagging behind, you know. So these 1-star streetwalker could be of any race, but there's too many of them who are black. What are we doing about that? Your 3-star hooker is where you find racial diversity. Everybody is jumbled up in that race. Black, white, Hispanic, everybody. Right? But once you get to the 5-star GFE escort level, you find fewer black girls there, but the majority of who you find are white and Asian escorts. She keeps her circle small. She only sees diplomats and politicians and businessmen and musicians. But she keeps herself clean by getting tested regularly. And you're expected to go through the entire encounter with her without a condom, otherwise she's offended. Most likely. Once you get to that level. In the United States, she can be very expensive. But that doesn't mean that you cannot go to a border town. Hold on. Do you hear the police siren? Let us maybe give them a minute to maybe kind of go on about their business, and then we'll pick up. Let me drink some water real quick. Yes, as I was saying, the 5-star elite GFE escort is very expensive in the United States, but that doesn't mean you cannot go to a border town where you can perhaps take advantage of the inflation of the local currency down there, especially if you are somewhere in the southwest of the United States. You can take advantage of the inflation of the peso, which ideally it trades in at around maybe 25 to 1 US dollar. So if you need that GFE encounter, if you need to have a real connection and build rapport with somebody and have some real actual intimacy besides just wham bam thank you sir or wham bam thank you ma'am, actually, then and if the GFE escorts here in the States cost too much, then it may be worth the 2-hour drive to the border to get your intimate needs met down there in Mexico. So what you can maybe do is here in the States, you can maybe get a 3-star hooker where she's kind of in between, and you get a not bad service without the intimacy, without the GFE connection, but you also don't break the bank. You can settle for that service here in the States, but once you travel out the country, that's when you actually go in for your GFE escort, your 5-star experience. You save the GFE escort encounters for when you're traveling out the country. Then you can get it for cheaper by you taking advantage of the inflation of the peso, which would see you getting that service for less than $100 in Mexico. You might even get it for like $70 or $80 for the whole hour. I've even heard stories of somebody in Tijuana having a sleepover for $200 for the whole night. $200 US dollars a whole night. But anyway, it's definitely easier and cheaper to get those services once you start traveling and you start going out the country. So if you want the 5-star experience, my recommendation is to save it for when you're traveling. It's the smartest move. But while here in the States, you can maybe go to like a massage parlor, like an Asian massage parlor, get that neuro massage, get that neuro body slide with the slippery lube or whatever. Yeah? That's slippery neuro gel or neuro oil or whatever they call it. Or you could settle for a 3-star hooker. A matter of fact, it takes a little bit of extra work and extra digging, but it's very possible to find actually good service from a 3-star hooker. Actually good, really good, close to GFE, but it's kind of light GFE. It's more like covered GFE where you wear the Jimmy. You know, you wear the condom, but it's the energy, the energy that she pours into you is as close as you come to GFE with a 3-star hooker. And I have heard stories in the past of men who have received a 5-star GFE service at 1-star streetwalker prices from a 3-star hooker. So they're right in the middle somewhere. So if you search hard enough, you find the right girl, you're bound to get a 5-star service at 1-star prices from that 3-star girl. It has happened before. But it requires a little bit of extra work, a little bit of searching, a little bit of building rapport and being nice to people, you know? And a huge part of building rapport is to give them tips when they deserve it. Give them tips when they're submissive and they're on their best behavior and they make it a very easy encounter for you. Remember their birthday, maybe buy them a nice perfume, their favorite fragrance or something, or their favorite bottle of wine for their birthday or for Christmas or whatever it is. That's a huge part of building rapport too. And once you do that, once you build rapport with a 5-star GFE escort, an actual escort, the one who you call her over to your place or you go to her place, and she's always clean, she always showers before and after each encounter, and her apartment, her in-call location is always clean and on point. Once you build rapport with that GFE escort, she will be the closest thing you will have to a wife until you meet your actual real wife. How about that? She'll be the closest thing you will have to a wife until you meet your actual wife in the future. But it takes building rapport. And matter of fact, you remember earlier I said don't be complacent. Seize the opportunity to kind of learn how to date traditionally. Well, this is what I'm talking about. You should see the opportunity in practicing with the escort. She's there. If you have no real social skills or dating skills, here's your chance to practice on the escort. How to treat a lady, how to build rapport, and so on and so forth. And she's kind of like your practice girlfriend, so to speak. So with her being the closest thing you have to a wife, here's how you practice how to be a husband to her and practice how to receive her being a wife to you as well. So seize that opportunity, don't let it go to waste, and practice how to have a normal, healthy relationship once you're having one for real, for real. And that is just another reason why the creator is allowing this to happen, because if he was truly displeased, he'd probably prevent that from happening, wouldn't he? But he's allowing it to happen, and that's probably one of the reasons why, because he sees opportunity for you to practice how to be in a real relationship, and it is also a good indicator as well as to why you'll probably be forgiven. I think you're okay. You don't have to worry about that. I think you're good. All right? You will be forgiven. It's not necessarily your fault, per se. But what are you doing once you're there? And what is your escape plan? What is your exit strategy? That is probably what the creator will most likely ask you on Judgment Day. Okay, I get that it wasn't your fault. It was you were a product of your environment. You happened to choose that route. Okay, I get it. But while you were there, though, what was your exit strategy? What was your plan on how to kind of branch off into starting a real relationship with a woman? That's probably what I can probably envision the creator asking you on Judgment Day when deciding whether or not to forgive you, even though most likely he probably made up his mind that he was going to forgive you. You know? So I think you're good. If you're worried about your soul, I don't think you really have too much to really worry about. The fact that you would choose to seize the opportunity to practice how to be in a real relationship is a good indicator that you are good in that sense. Now, In closing, let me just summarize by saying why using an escort service is a boss move. You see, there is no power in eating at someone else's mercy. For example, you would do well cooking your own food at home than to buying a food in a than to buying a meal in a restaurant where someone is cooking that food on their terms. You don't know what they're putting in it. You don't know what kind of preservatives or factory packaged food that they're cooking. You don't know the condition under which it was handled. You don't know if they were very sanitary. You don't know if they washed their bloody hands while they were in there. You don't know if they were wearing a face mask. You don't know if they were sneezing and coughing all over your food. You don't know any of that. You're eating at their mercy. And there's no power whatsoever in eating at someone's mercy. Whereas, if you made it yourself at your home, you went to the grocery store, you bought all the ingredients, you seasoned the meat, you rinsed the vegetables, you put it together. You know what you put in that. You know the condition under which your food was made. And there's no way anybody could have tampered with your food or contaminated it if you're the only one who handled it. So that's what I mean when I say that there is no power in eating at someone else's mercy. So the same principle can now be applied to your sexual endeavors as well. If you're waiting for someone to get you laid, like I said before, your name might as well be Steve Carell, because you'll be a 40-year-old virgin. They'd have you waiting for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And what if they're a narcissist and they get their power from denying you your basic needs? What if they get their enjoyment from dangling that proverbial carrot on a stick before your eyes with no intention of actually satisfying your needs? There is no power in eating at someone's mercy. If you want to experience their sexuality, you take the initiative. The ball is in your court. You take the initiative. You go out there. Don't wait on someone to decide when they feel like dealing with you that this is when you're going to get laid. You take the initiative and you go out there and you get laid whenever it is that you are ready. If there's no other reason why using an escort is a boss move, then this reason most certainly is that reason. You're taking control of your sexuality, not leaving it up to chance, not leaving it up to the mercy of potential enemy combatants who might just dangle that proverbial carrot on a stick before your eyes with no intention of actually satisfying your needs. You are taking control and you are getting laid on your terms, when you feel like it, where you feel like it, and with whom you feel like it. With whom you feel like, I should say. And you're telling her what you like, and you're having her do what you need done. And if she doesn't want to do it, you find somebody else. This is business. That is the kind of bargaining power you have when it is a business transaction. Right? And as a matter of fact, there are some people who will actually respect you more for taking charge once they understand the reasoning behind why you do what you do. There are some people who will actually respect you more for taking control of your life than leaving it up to chance. I, for one, am one of those people. I will respect you more than if you were just simply leaving it up to chance. Because it shows that you at least have the courage to go forth and go after what you want and not give a damn really what anybody has to say about your lifestyle choices. You live life on your terms, you call the shots, you make the rules, you're the Sigma male, and you just don't give a shit. And that's the kind of stoic attitude that you need to have to get through this life. You know? So, why does using an escort service, why is that a boss move? Because it puts the control in your court, and you get laid on your terms as opposed to leaving it up to chance and eating at someone else's mercy. Getting an escort is a boss move for that reason, if no other reason. Next week's topic: the reason why we're always being oppressed as black people in America. I hope you'll join me then. I am Mr. Franklin. This has been Frank and Upfront.